Hazbin Hotel. There's no way in hell you've never heard of this show, unless you weren't on the internet for the last 5 years since the pilot. I got into it because of the fun character designs and expressive art style. Nobody is surprised, I mean... So today, I'm gonna be redesigning some of these funky fellas. Disclaimer, I am doing this for fun. Not because I hate the original designs or want to claim that I can make a quote-unquote better design. I know a lot of people have issues with the character designs in the show, but I actually like most of them, so rather than completely changing them, I adjusted the things I didn't like and also drew them in my art style, which is definitely not intended for animation. Now with that out of the way, let's draw the Skrunklies. Starting off with the King of Hell himself, Lucifer. Lucifer straight up has one of my absolute favorite designs of the show, which is why I didn't change it that much from canon. His outfit straight up screams dandy to me, which also suits his personality really well. He's a goofy goober, but a fashionable one. I also just like him as a character. He's silly in the best way, and I love that he defies the expectation most people have when thinking about the literal King of Hell. I've seen people criticize this, but I think for a show that's about redemption and smashing concepts like good and evil, this makes so much sense. You would think the devil, a fallen angel, would be edgy as hell, haha, and intimidating, but no, he's just a depressed dad and a short king, which I love for him. Not the depression part, but anyways. For the design, I did change the shape of his suit because I felt like a tailcoat that ends higher up in front would fit him very well, and also personal bias. This is one of my favorite suit types, the shapes are just too good. I heard some people say his original design doesn't really look like a king to them, but I disagree. I think he does look very royal, but to underline that fact, I gave him these funky braid thingies hanging off his coat. I'm sure there's a word for them, enlighten me if you know. I also added these shoulder pad tassels, which he had in the last episode of season 1. Really love those for him, it's kind of giving royal military vibes, or ringleader, both works to be honest. I also wanted to include his staff because I really love the apple theme in his design. You know, the apple and the snake, Bible stuff and all that. I never actually read the Bible, even though I went to a Christian school for like 3 years, but shh. Another minor thing I changed was that he has horns that go through the hat in his default form, because I love horns. I guess you could say he gets to be a horny boy. Originally, he has a crown on the hat, but the horns were kinda in the way a little bit. I really love the snake wrapping around his head, so I basically just kept that and changed the shape up a bit to compensate for the missing crown. And of course, he had to have his actual wings because he is a fallen angel. To be honest, I should have given him multiple wings because those look really cool in the show, but you can just imagine he doesn't have all of them out right now. Color-wise, I pretty much kept his original colors. Red, white, and gold is just a banger color scheme, what can I say? As the video continues, you may notice that I basically make no drastic changes to any of the characters' colors. This might be a bit controversial because I know some of the main character design criticisms I've heard from other artists who have done redesigns and also from you guys is that you think the colors are too similar. Mainly, everyone is red, and yes, basically everyone is red or has red in their design, and I love that. I think the main reasoning used is that quote-unquote good character design has more variety, so you can tell the characters apart better. But I'm gonna be real, I have no issues telling these characters apart because they have strong silhouettes and shape language that differentiates them really well. And also, even though a lot of the colors are similar, they are still used in different quantities and are combined with other colors. Like Vaggie is red and grey, Charlie and Lucifer are red, yellow and white, Alastor is red and black, Angel is pink and white, etc. I really appreciate Hazbin Hotel for their approach to character design because their use of colors makes the characters look really good together. It itches my brain, if you will. And I don't know if you are Will, but I am Will, so that's that. And let's not forget that part of the reason for the color palette is to show a stark difference between heaven and hell. with Heaven having a lot of white and sky blue designs, while Hell has a lot of blacks and reds, which I think is super cool. I also think it's worth to note that there is no objectively good or bad design, because people like different things and you can never please everyone. I bet there's someone watching right now who hates my designs and is waiting to type in the comments how bad I am at character design or something. Which, by the way, is not helpful. If you have issues with my designs, feel free to tell me what you would like to change and why, but also, the point of me making these designs is not to please you specifically, but to make art that I like and then make a video about that art. But back to the design. I added a scale pattern to his suit lapels to fit with the snake theme, and also just because it looks cool. I think his redesign is probably the closest one to canon out of everyone, to the point where my girlfriend didn't even notice it was a redesign when I showed her the drawing. I put way too much effort into shading all of this, as I always do, but I also kind of felt like I had to, because I wanted to make all of these artworks into prints. So, if you like any of these artworks and want to have them stare at you from across the room, you can get them over on InPrint. I made sure they all look good together, so in case you like multiple of them, they are meant to be displayed next to each other. There's different print options you can get, like fine art prints, poster prints, or even funky metal, canvas, or acrylic prints. But if you're not interested in prints, you can also support me by grabbing the HD files of my art to use as wallpapers over on my Patreon, along with a bunch of my other art, time-lapses, and work in progress. You can also get the Lineart files to color in yourself as a one-time purchase if you don't want to deal with a monthly subscription. Now, back to the designs. Next up is the Princess of Hell, Charlie Morningstar. From what I've heard, most people have an issue with Charlie's design, not because it's bad, but because it's giving, nothing. Girl is giving straight up nothing. Maybe cute hotel employee, but like, as a background character, not the main character of the show. And honestly, given how Hazbin has some really cool background character designs, she would look boring even next to them. It's pretty bland, I'm not gonna lie guys. I do love that she's wearing a suit while still having a very friendly, bubbly personality, because it goes against the stereotype of women with that kind of personality always wearing cute dresses. I just like the suit vibe for her. However, if I didn't know anything about her and you showed me a picture of her with a neutral expression, I would deadass think she's a mean girl. She's low-key giving rich high school bully vibes, like the kind of girl who wears designer clothes that look like regular clothes but cost 100 times as much money. Can you guys see it, or is it just me? And in a way I kind of love that look for her, because while she's not mean, she is technically a very privileged girl because she is the Princess of Hell, so she doesn't really have to worry about her financial situations or trivial things like getting killed in the yearly exterminations. But also she's very sweet and tries her best to be nice to everyone, so yeah, she's definitely not a mean girl, even though you could think she might be from her looks. Anyways, design. I've seen a couple other redesign videos and there's a trend of making Charlie more goat-like, which I totally love by the way, but because I have seen it more often already, I wanted to try something more subtle. I kept the suit, no surprise there, but I changed the overall shape a bit and made it double-breasted so she looks more fancy and not as hotel employee-y. I gave her a beret hat and a bow on her back, which I think finally made her look like she may work at a hotel, but if she does, she is someone of importance. I debated around for a while what I wanted to do with the bow tie on her collar, and ultimately changed it to a regular tie, because otherwise it felt like the outfit looked too girly and I still wanted the overall outfit to have a more posh look. Nothing wrong with looking girly of course, but one of the things I literally said I liked the most about Charlie was that she didn't look girly. Oh yeah, and I also gave her horns because she deserves to have them. They look cool as hell, ain't nobody gonna talk me out of the horns. Her colors are pretty much the same as in canon, except I removed her little black nose because I could not manage to make it look good in my art style. I did make her buttons gold and also added some golden stripes to her suit and hat, but that's about all the changes for the colors. I think the one main thing that makes Charlie's original design kinda boring to me is that she has literally no symbols or patterns anywhere. Like, Lucifer has his apple and snake, Alastor has a stripy suit and eyeballs, Vaggie has her X-eye and cool hair shape. Meanwhile, Charlie is wearing literally a normal suit. Like, I'm pretty sure if you wanted to cosplay her, you could just go to a regular store that has red suits and you'd get her exact outfit. Besides the actual shape of the suit, I also changed the shape of the buttons on the suit to be star-shaped because her name is Morningstar. Wow. It's kinda basic, but the only other thing I could think of would be hearts, and that would go too much into kitschy territory again, so yeah, stars it is. I did add the hearts in the picture frame though, because they do still fit her vibe. Alright, I don't think you guys will be surprised to hear that Alastor is also one of my favorite characters from this show. He's a creepy but dapper demon man who's also powerful and has a very stunning smile that never leaves his face. Some people would say it's unnerving, but in a good way. A lot of complaints people had about Alastor was that he didn't look very deer-like to them, even though that's what he's meant to be inspired by. He does have deer-like ears and antlers in the original design, but to be honest, the antlers are very small and obstructed by his hair. At least when he's not like this. Speaking of hair, that's another point people hate about him. But I'm gonna be honest, as a bowl cut connoisseur myself, I love this hairstyle. Let's just ignore the fact that he's basically bald underneath in canon. I'm not sure why he's like that. Maybe his hairdresser had a bad day, I don't know. So yeah, in my version he keeps the bob but gets some bigger antlers, deer ears, and also a little deer tail that you can barely see, but it is there. I also tried to give him a deer nose, but I'm beginning to suspect that I'm bad at giving humanoid characters animal noses, since I also tried this with Charlie and it also did not work. For his outfit, I decided to go with a bougie double-breasted French coat with peak lapels because he stripped out like that. In the OG design, he has this weird cross on his shirt. I have no idea what that's supposed to be and it always annoyed me, so I yeeted that into the void and instead gave him a turtleneck sweater with a funky bow tie. And I just realized I forgot to attach the bow tie to anything, so it's held in place by magic. I make the rules around here. For his microphone staff, I actually did some research and found these interesting ring microphones that were apparently used in the 1930s, which is around the time Alastor died. Funnily enough, after I finished this drawing, I rewatched some of the episodes and saw that Alastor had a microphone like this in his radio station, which I thought was funny. I think this kind of microphone looks cooler than the one he has in the show, and also I turned it into a pentagram. On the flip side, it does kind of look like a magical girl staff. Alastor making some competition for Stella from Wings right now, for real for real. I do want to take a moment to mention that I don't know a ton of the character backstories beyond what was seen in the show, so if I get something wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. Like for Alastor, I noticed he had a lot of symbols appearing when he uses magic, which definitely aren't the regular pentagram type symbols, but at this point in time I already had this drawing done, so yeah. I hope it still kind of fits. I guess in the end it's always a symbol for hell, so it's not like it's completely out of place. Anyways, random fun detail. All of the eyes in this one have horizontal pupils because deer have pupils like that. I just thought it was a neat detail to have instead of the typical slitted pupil. For the colors, I went with the red color scheme he has in canon but made it a bit darker. He also isn't wearing gloves in this, so you can see his fingers having a dark gradient on them, because this is peak character design according to Twitter. The background looked kinda empty, so I added his shadow being completely normal, doing normal shadow things. Do not be concerned. Just kidding, you should totally be concerned. You guys may have already seen this during the sketching, but Alastor is also getting a spooky version, because I thought it would be cool. I obscured his entire face in darkness, gave him an even bigger grin, wide open eyes, much bigger antlers, and the most terrifying nails ever. I think he needs to go see a specialist to get those trimmed. Jeez, Alastor. This is obviously very inspired by some of the more messed up looks he has in the show, which I love for him. I could not make this video without drawing something more unhinged, so here we are. And of course I added his funky little tentacles as well. I guess if you got the prints for normal Alastor and the messed up version, you could swap them out occasionally to gaslight your friends and family. Okay, I'm gonna be real, when I first watched the show, I wasn't a fan of Vaggie's design. She's kind of the grumpy but cool girl who, unlike Charlie, is more realistic, if not a bit pessimistic about things, and I guess I expected a less quote-unquote girly character design for her. But honestly, her long hair, big bow, and overall more femme look really grew on me, because just like with Charlie's more quote-unquote masculine outfit in the show, it goes against that stereotype of girly outfits being worn by girly girls, whatever the hell that means. I think the only thing I dislike related to Vaggie is not even about her specifically, but just that I wish Charlie and her would have had more moments together that make them have more chemistry as a couple. Honestly, I blame most of this on the fact that season 1 had 8 episodes, so a lot of the story felt rushed, but if you consider the fact that they only had 8 episodes, and I repeat, 8 episodes, to get all of the important plot points in, and like 2 songs every episode, I think they did pretty well. Anyways, this is a redesign video, so let's get into the actual design. I am gonna be real, for Vaggie, I had no idea what I even wanted to change going into this, so I went with the flow and made some smaller changes. First of all, I wanna note that I was really surprised when I checked the fandom wiki and it said Vaggie's design was supposed to be moth-themed, because in the show, she instantly read like a bird of prey to me. It's mainly the hooked nose and the fact that her hair looks like wings, especially with the striped pattern. And after checking in with my girlfriend, who is a certified animal nerd, she said Vaggie looked like a hawk to her, especially with the way she fights once she has her wings back. But yeah, we'll get back to that later once you guys see the coloring. One of the things I did want to change about her was her body type, because I feel like Vaggie would have a good amount of muscle on her along with a bit of chub. It just seems like the right body type for her to have, since she is someone who does physical combat and was a trained exorcist. Like, you're telling me she killed people with those arms? Nuh-uh. It also bugged me in general that the exorcists all look the same. Like, it makes sense for them to have a uniform, but why do all of them have to have the exact same body type and wing color? I would have loved to see some more variety there. So yeah, I gave Vaggie some arms and exaggerated her shoulders further by making her sleeves poofy. Anything beyond that was mainly just me willifying her design and making her a bit more edgy. Not because she should be, but because that's what I like to draw. YouTube artists being self-indulgent? Unheard of. I gave her a little bit of an undercut, some funky ear piercings, and added spikes to her choker because, boy, we sure love spikes in this household. For the colors, I kinda juggled the colors she already had around a bit and arrived at this version. I wanted to bring out the hawk theme a bit more in my version, which kinda didn't happen because the main change I wanted to make was to give her bird legs, but as you can see, the pose and framing was not ideal for that. This is what happens when you try to do character designs that are simultaneously made to be prints. But I did change her eye color a bit to make it look like a hawk, and also added more stripes to her hair and wings to mimic a grey hawk. Husk, the good old bartender of the hotel. He is not among my favorite characters, but I do definitely like him and his personality in the show. What I do not like, however, is his design, for 2 main reasons. 1, why is he a twig? Especially with his voice, I would imagine him to have a bigger build. Something about him being as skinny as Alastor does not sit right with me. And 2, what are those? I'm sorry, but if there's one thing in Hazbin Hotel that I hate, it's Husk's wing patterns. They trigger the hell out of me. I do not understand them, and I hope the animators were okay. So yeah, the very first thing I changed was that Husk is now big, has an extra floofy neck, and big kitty paws. I was lurking on the fandom wiki page again and read about Husk apparently not liking the form he has in Hell, which I assume is partially due to the fact that everyone teases him about being a cute little kitty. So I wanted to make sure that despite him being grumpy, his face is still kinda cute. Also, it says his bodily age is 60 to 70, which I did not at all get from his show design. I would have thought he's supposed to be maybe 30 to 40, and that's only because of his voice actor, to be honest. Otherwise, my guess would be way lower. I made him a little bit more wrinkly and scrunkly looking, so maybe my version reads a bit older. Not sure what age he looks like right now, but you guys can let me know your opinion on it. Also, side note, I was a little bit nervous about drawing him because I didn't know if I could even draw him properly due to him being a cat. I don't know if you guys know this, but I mainly draw humans. Luckily, cats are the one animal I can manage to draw stylized pretty well, but if it was any other animal, let's just say I have a video on my idea list where I learn how to draw furries. Anyways, for his clothing, I stuck pretty close to the original design, but I did give him an actual shirt with a big collar reminiscent of the 70s. Color-wise, I thought it would be ironic if he was a black cat due to him being a gambler and having relatively bad luck to end up under Alastor's control. I made his fur a bit darker and changed the white parts of his coat so it doesn't compete with the light shirt. Then I gave him some playing cards, which I love that he uses them as weapons in the show. That's actually pretty cool. And I changed the colors of his wings a little bit and didn't give them this weird dot stripey pattern because I refuse to. I'll be honest, I think this drawing turned out really cool, but the redesign is definitely not my favorite. But also I made like 4 other designs before this, and I'm just one guy on an upload schedule, so at some point you're gonna start to rush things a little. I definitely wish I gave him actual floof on his arms too, because they do look oddly smooth in comparison to his face and neck, but oh well. Overall, I still think he looks cool. And here's all of the finished artworks. Which one is your favorite? I probably have to go with Alastor version 2 because we love creepy cryptids in this household. But I'm genuinely happy with all of them, even if they do have their flaws. I originally planned to draw Angel Dust as well, but I decided against it since this is already the redesign video with the most characters I've drawn at once. I love a lot of the characters in Hazbin Hotel, so I might come back and draw more, looking at the V specifically. If you did enjoy this video, consider leaving a like and checking out this playlist where I redesign more characters. Or this video where I design my own villain characters. They're very scrunkly, just saying. Thanks so much for watching. Special thanks to my Patreons. Will out.